Hello, I'm Dale Matthews, and I'm joined by Mike Jones. Hello, Mike Jones.
Hey Dale, what's going on?
Well, it's Saturday, and this is the day that we have set aside. Yeah, that sounds a little religious. I don't mean it that way. To observe, oh, there it is again, to play back recordings from ancient Babylon. No, from our radio ads that have been playing on KMED. A number of people kind of like them. They're supposed to be slightly witty, and they're
You're gonna have to explain to this pointing at your head thing. I totally don't get that. You've been doing that for like weeks. I have no idea what it means. Period.
Oh, well, but you're not going to like it, so that's why I can't explain it to you.
Okay.
No,
Yeah, I don't get it.
this is the funny part of the show. You said, don't ever say that again, Dale, and I'm not saying
Uh,
it. I wasn't going. You forced me. It's like when you get me worked up on a subject, I say, stop it, Mike, stop it. So, you know, it's just a little visual clue for people. See, I grew up with television. I grew up with television, where every problem was solved in half an hour.
hmm
And it's usually solved with some kind of laughter, and there was a laugh track in the background to tell you where the jokes were, because most of the time it wasn't very funny. And so when the flying nun would, I don't know, crash into a wall and have a broken neck or
Oh,
something, they would have to tell you.
now it totally makes sense.
Right. You have to point at the fact that, when the bell runs into the Mother Superior, and then Sister Beatrice looks up and says, that rings a bell. That's when you would realize that they're taking off of the Three Stooges.
Right.
Our
Yes.
show is very similar to that, except there's just two of us.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
I'm sure there are people who would agree it's the Two Stooges. Yes.
Oh, yeah, I listen. I know that for a
You
fact.
do?
Yes.
Right. People are
No,
asking you
no, we have
questions.
some big fans of the show. Oh yeah,
We do. We
yeah,
do.
great big fans, and
They're
they
very
they,
large people. Yes.
they pour on all kinds of well, I wouldn't call it praise. No, I've heard some rantings on about our rantings on, and
No, there are people who love what we do. We just,
oh no, there is,
they just
there
really
is, but
are.
they're surely
Oh no, I
they're
hate it
not
when you call
as
me that.
yes, they're not as outspoken as or negative. Negative. Imagine that. I'm criticizing somebody for being negative.
Oh, you are. Oh, but what's the matter with these sensitive people? A little sense of humor would be nice. We don't have any, but it would be nice if we did. And it would be. And what's your problem?
Every time Dale touches his head now, I'm gonna have to laugh because that's the cue. I didn't realize, Dale. These cues you have to tell me
We don't
about the
have an
cue
applause
before.
sign thing that.
Right. Yes.
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 So
I didn't realize that's what you were getting at. Had you done that, I would have, you know, um,
sure you would
helped
have.
helped you out a
Right.
while ago. Yeah.
So we do get occasionally asked questions from people that want to know more about our show. And
Mm.
so, looking at some of my notes here, uh, what do you guys expect from your show? Nothing. Go ahead, Mike. What's the next question?
Uh, I, I, what? I don't have these questions. You didn't send me these questions.
Oh, okay. Well, but you have some negative comments. You've been collecting those.
Oh, had I known I was supposed to have them sitting there, we really need to do some pre-production here.
No, we
You
never
know?
do. No, we never. Just like
Yes.
we're never going to get caught like the commissioners talking about things
Oh,
outside
well,
of
listen. Hey,
the presence of the public.
if I knew that I was supposed to come up with some sort of ad lib stuff, I would do a little bit more. Well, of course,
How can you
that's
come up with ad lib stuff?
well,
Yeah.
yes. Uh, well, see,
Yeah.
this is how I do ad lib. Is I'll have it like written down in front of me.
You have ad
Okay,
lib stuff written down. Now you're turning into a politician.
that's right.
Yeah,
That's
that's
right.
one reason he'd make a good county commissioner, is he writes down his ad libs. Right,
Yes.
right. So
Well, what do you think Cheryl is doing when she starts scribbling,
I
furiously?
know what she's writing.
She's right.
She's furious. She's got her head down. She's riding 100 miles an hour, and she's writing, "I hate you. I hate you. I hate you. I hate you," over and
Yeah.
over and over again. Keith
Yeah.
is playing hangman and losing. and
Yes.
and Simon, he's literally texting, and you know what he's texting. We got a chance to see a couple of
Oh
his
yeah,
texts.
yeah, yeah. Let's not get into that one, boy.
He tried to get into that one, and he wasn't able to.
Yes,
Yeah.
apparently.
Whoa.
All
Oh,
right.
it was to me. It was so amusing because it better be. Um, the other day, it was Thursday. There wasn't much that happened, but someone came by from Adult Corrections and said that they're going to get some money from the state to deal with DUI cases. Now, we noticed that it looked as if, because you have to follow what they're saying, and as you know, we've given you examples on tape. It's not always easy to, what are they talking about? It looks like if they don't get 450 per year, that the county has to pony up the money to pay for it. Really? Now, they were saying that, I think I have this right. I'm sorry, I really do try. I'm sitting there, I'm paying attention. I think what they were saying is if they don't get 450 a year once they commit to this, that they have to come up with the balance of the $300,000. $300,000? What kind of super person is this that they're hiring? Remember how they said they weren't going to talk about hiring people and giving people raises? Well, this is one they
Mm.
did, and it's going to come up on Wednesday. And so Sandy Casanelli, maybe somebody else, is sending out notices saying, hey, you might want to come Wednesday because they're talking about in public, really? In public? About the fact that they're going to hire somebody and that this person needs to do this job. Now, a couple of the slightly amusing parts about this that came up with this is, one, Simon Harris is sitting there talking with them saying, yes, penalties for drunk drivers seems like a really good idea to me. Simon, you're saying
Yeah.
this, Simon? Really? Well, because it'll never apply to him because lofty figures don't ever have to pay.
Well, a
Only we have
drunk
to pay.
people who are habitual drunk drivers never have to wear the label drunk driver until they've been busted for it, and he as of yet has not. So.
Well, that's what he said to, we mentioned to you before that there were half a dozen people that had come to me or to Mike before Doug Deacons did, where it was the texting the young women that were part of his extended household, that others had come to us and said, hey, look, Simon here did this to me. And I said, well, there's a solution for that. You can say something. Well, they didn't want to, and you know why, because Simon threatened this guy too. I know lots of lawyers, and they'll make mince of meat of you, or whatever it was that he said.
Right.
Um, but the thing is
Minced
that,
minced meat. Yes, file that in your lexicon, people.
okay, it's an important day. It's the vernal equinox, and whatever that means. And so if I lapse into a little Shakespeare speak or whatever, you'll understand. Our audience totally understands. Upon what meat doth this
Yes.
our Caesar feed that he has grown so great? That doesn't apply to Mike.
Yes.
It
Yes.
only applies to Keith Heck. So in this case, it applies to Simon Hare, who then not only threatened the guy, according to Doug Deacons, but also said, look, it was your fault. It was your fault. Mike, don't get me started.
Okay.
Yeah. So today is the vernal equinox. It's March 21st. And we have brought you a show that's jam-packed full of audio action. No. Just before I get to the jam-packed full,
Oh.
uh, So they were talking about this thing where apparently they must do 450 DUI arrests in
Mm.
order for this to turn out, because there's some kind of strings attached, aren't there always? And so one of the questions is, as Bill Hunker, who was here Thursday night, pointed out, he says, looked over the numbers, and it looks like instead of 450 a year, he was mentioning numbers like 21,
Oh yeah.
14.
Yes. Well, and
Um,
I'm not sure if that applies only to the sheriff's department or whether that's all of Josephine County law enforcement as a whole that's done that. But it seemed to me he was talking about the sheriff's department.
well, it's somebody that's going to be hired within the county. It's not
Mm,
going to be someone hired between Grants Pass City and the county. So I would
right.
think that he would deal with that.
Well,
So
450 would be at the high end of max numbers that they've gotten over the last 10 years.
yeah, and that would be a real ramp up of the number. How are they going to handle this? And why is it so costly? Okay, because people will say, well, at least it doesn't come out of our pocket. Where do you think they get the money that they're printing it in Salem?
Yes.
It does come out of your pocket.
Yes, no, that's just plain silly. And why can't they find this kind of discretionary income to just dump into the sheriff's department?
I,
Well,
maybe.
I'll tell you why.
Oh,
Because any money that they dump into the sheriff's department from any other source takes a little bit of pressure off passing a levy. So
now,
that's why they
one
don't
of the
do it.
things that we do know for sure, occasionally we're repeating ourselves, but I mentioned something to Bill Hunker the other day, and he said, I never heard that. Oh, I must have mentioned it on the show at least a couple of times. It's not Bill's fault, because
Right.
sometimes the jokes and the news go flying by so quickly from Mike that people don't even realize that he's trying to be funny. So, occasionally, what? And so occasionally
Hey,
people,
listen. I thought that was an appropriate response. It's I'm not going to have a
what?
guffaw every
A
single time. That was
guffaw?
just
Well, have
yes,
you thought of chortling?
yes. I'll chortle next time. I kind of wasn't that what I just did. Wasn't really a chortle. That was
Well,
kind of a
we'll have to
that
get Keith Eck on
that
our
was like
show.
a withheld spit take.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, no, this is sophisticated here. If we're gonna do
Sophisticated
this,
humor. Yes, right, right.
we're gonna
Well,
do
look,
this. We're
look,
gonna do it
we're not
right.
trying. We're not trying to be funny, and that shows. Okay, um, so first of all, that Simon was in favor of this thing about DUI. Second, that we have to come up with these hundreds of arrests, or we got to start paying. But there's always room in our magical budget for this kind of thing, and we're setting ourselves up for success. Yeah, that's what we're doing, because if we don't get that many arrests, then we've got to chunk in. We have to pitch in for the remainder. Really, is this a good gamble? Is this? Look, here's the point. The commissioners say they don't have enough of our money to spend. They're always complaining about that. But they've got plenty of your money from your other pocket from the state, and you've seen how they spend it. How did they spend the economic development money? How did they
Hmm.
spend that to create 214 full-time family wage jobs that are permanent after building wheelchair ramps in a state park?
Hmm. And that's just a small little micro sliver of the economic development money too. Um,
That's right.
odd, choices here, but so where are this is like a state grant money or something like that for this
Yes.
program? Is that
That's
what
my
that?
understanding. If I'm understanding it correctly, I'm trying to follow along. I really am.
Yeah.
But
Hmm.
the only time you can get the documentation is, as Keith Heck said, it could take 3 or 4 weeks, and you have to pay for it.
Hmm.
We're just the citizens. Come on.
I wish they'd knock it off with all this. This grant stuff is all of it is stupid. If
Well,
you
we're
ask
setting
me,
ourselves up with this one, aren't
all
we?
stupid.
I mean, really, everybody in the audience, aren't we setting ourselves up for this? I mean, if it's true, what they said, if that's true, and sometimes it turns out not to be true, not because it's nefarious or anything, there I go with this Latin speak. Not just because they're trying to be dishonest, but because they're just sometimes wrong, and that's okay. It's going to have to be okay, really. Um, but if they're right about this, and you have to have hundreds and hundreds of arrests, and we're not generally doing that, and they've got this one person for $300,000. Really? And that person, and they've got to go out and they've got to grab up these folks. And so,
Pretty good
where do you
scam.
think? Where do you think that all this law enforcement help is going to come from? Well, it's going to come
Oh,
directly out of the people who can't go investigate other things.
right. And so, what is a lot of this money going to be set up with, roadside sobriety checkpoints where they shake everybody down as they're going through? Is that what's going to be going on here?
That's certainly
That doesn't
possible.
sound good to me.
Do you remember where we were the ones who brought to you? You're not going to see this in the Courier. Stop looking in the Courier. Why do you even look at the Courier? We talked to you about the single point of access project, which is Cheryl's big deal. And boy, did they jump all over me at the Wednesday weekly business session when I brought this up. They're super sensitive about this. And I said what they're thinking of doing, what they're planning on doing, what they want to do is shut down the entire courthouse. So what? You don't go there? I understand that. But they want to shut down the entire courthouse so there's only one single point of access. So I talked with Wally Hicks and the fellow from Building Operations and Maintenance out in the hallway while the camera was in the other room catching on fire, smoldering, getting ready to burst into flames by itself. There was nobody touching it. It's against the rules. What happened to that rule? Don't get me started. Stop doing that, Jimmy Mike. And so I said to him, if you want to restrict access to the courts upstairs, why not just require people go up in the elevator and that you stop them when the elevator opens on the second floor? You just move the guard booth down to in front of the elevator, because that's all that you need to do, and it will cost us $0. $0? We can't have it cost us $0. Why? What's the use of that? It would be nice to save our state money out of our other pocket. Just do that. And they were both thinking about it. Wally Hicks and the guy from Building Operations and Maintenance. They were thinking and thinking. And then the guy from BOM, Building Operations and Maintenance, BOM, they call it BOM, he said, well, what if there was a bomb on the commissioner's floor? It wouldn't stop that.
Right.
It wouldn't stop a bomb on the commissioner's floor? And that's why we're going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars because you think there's going to be a bomb on the floor with the commissioners? And then you think about it. Now how are they
So wait a minute. Does this mean that everybody that comes into the courthouse area is going to have to go through a metal detector and go through all this, empty all your pockets and all this?
Check out the big brain on Mike. Absolutely.
Well,
Isn't that what it means?
Well, that's obvious. Otherwise, obviously
they're not going to do that. They're not real, because you know what's going to happen on jury days and other days when people are coming in and they're trying to, I want to get a divorce, I want to have a restraining order, I want to do something with my dog. No, you cannot marry your dog, even though this is Josephine County. Listen, apparently then, if that's the case, what this is all about is commissioners think they're important people. They're commissioners in the middle of nowhere, Oregon. Come on. Of course it's a nice place, but nobody cares about us. Not really, except for the fact that we're the most corrupt county in Oregon. Woo, we got that going for us. So, but they need to have protection. Why, my gosh, don't you realize how important that they are? They are willing to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars when, honestly now, I put it up in front of legal counsel and the guy in charge of building operations. It could cost us nothing, but they don't want it to cost us nothing. So people will line up outside of the door, and they'll have to pass through bomb detection. They're not going to do it. It's going to, the first day, they're going to say, we can't do this. They didn't even think about this. How are you going to stop the bomb throwing people? That's us. They think it's us. Well, they think it's Mike anyway.
Well,
it's not going to happen.
And This is why they have the new deputy down at the weekly business session. That's what that's all about. Is that they think that something is imminent. Somebody's going to come in and go crazy. That's
Well,
what they
they're
think.
right that we don't like them. I mean, where did they get their first clue, right? They're
Yes,
right that,
but
that we disapprove of them lying, but you don't
we're
call in
not
a deputy.
lunatics. We're not crazy people.
That's where they're,
This is
like happened with Dennis Weber, in charge of the largest church, arguably, in this area, and telling his parishioners that at these meetings, and you've seen the videos, that we're screaming, like we do on this show, that we're gnawing on the furniture, that we're running around the room yelling, whoop, whoop, whoop. This is just not true. But he's telling his parishioners this. Well, that's a lot of people.
yeah. So commercials.
Is it time for a commercial already? Boy.
Yes, it is. It's we're 20 minutes in here. We gotta fling some commercials here, or we're gonna be in trouble.
Now, keep in mind that we pay. What are we doing? What kind of monetization is this, Mike? We pay to put
It's a
commercials
bad business model. That's
on
what
the
it is.
radio.
It is really well thought out.
Right, and we do this not to drive you to a commercial website, but just to tell you a bit about the news and to give you and to
Not
start
that
you
there's
thinking.
anything at all wrong with that.
No, there's
Yes,
nothing wrong with it. We just
there's
don't
nothing
do
wrong
it
with that. If
because
you
I
ask me.
personally don't. I personally don't want to be accused of saying, "Look at the website. Look at the website." Aha! See, he's using news to entice you in to buy widgets. There's no widgets to buy. Well,
Okay,
unless Mike's selling widgets on the side that I don't know about.
I'm trying. No one's buying though.
Yes. Okay. Mike's micro widgets. Okay. So here's the first ad.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
This is Dale Matthews, editor of BadCounty.com. Anti-levy proponents are sometimes wrong. It's important to be right. Passage of this levy and passage of a proposed bill in Salem will not hike your taxes to $4 per thousand. It would only triple your taxes. Let's get it right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the idea of the ads was, why don't we kind of back into it and say our side? I'm on that side, and I think you know where Mike stands. Is sometimes wrong. But not only are we admonishing the people with whom we work to be right, but also trying to insert just a little bit of humor, just a little bit. Okay, play the next ad there for us, Mike.
This is Dale Matthews, editor of BadCounty.com. Anti-levy proponents are sometimes wrong. It's important to be right. Some people are saying that this so-called citizen-initiated tax hike was started by Commissioner Cheryl Walker. That's wrong. It was actually started by Commissioner Keith Heck. We have the tape and documents. Let's get it right.
You like that one, Mike?
Who is saying that it was started by Cheryl Walker? You just said that so you could say that Keith Heck did it.
I do the same thing that Cheryl Walker does. This was amazing. We were there on Wednesday.
That's right.
We
Pay
were
attention, people, because Dale's confessing to a lie now.
Ads can be just a little bit funny, and they can be a little hyperbolic. Ooh.
Yes.
I think that's Greek. So Cheryl Walker was she was starting to get teary-eyed. You always know when a politician starts to blubber, watch out, right? So she says, "Well, I've gotten criticized by a number of people for my brave stand on the Second Amendment, where she wasn't going to sign the document saying that, perhaps we shouldn't have these unreasonable rules. I mean, some rules might make sense, but how about let's just not have unreasonable rules?" And she says, "I've gotten all kinds of emails from people who don't like my stand on it, and they've criticized my family." I'm thinking, what? Whenever you say, what? Where did that come from? They've criticized her family? What the heck is she talking about? They've criticized her family? Ah, it was just an opening so she could say, "And my son bravely serves in the military." Oh, that's why they've criticized my family. It brought her out a chance to trot out her boy, who's doing a wonderful service for the country. Thank you very much, truly. Okay? Have a
Right.
talk with your mom. Okay, and he's doing this stuff with it, and then she starts getting teary-eyed. Why, he's such a patriot, and you're going, shut up. That's why she brought it up. It's manipulative,
Yeah.
yes. Okay. So,
No,
okay,
it
play
is.
the next ad, please, Michael Jones.
This is Dale Matthews, editor of badcounty.com. Anti-levy proponents are sometimes wrong. It's important to be right. Some are saying that the commissioners just made it up, that local laws require 10% skimming for their own use. Actually, it's also not required by state law, by many other counties, and by our own history. Let's get it right.
God, you're really really hard on these anti-levy people. You know, they're just a bunch of liars. They're getting it wrong all the time. Get your story straight, people.
It's a way, a little self-effacing humor as a way to kind of get people to pay attention to the subject from another point of view. Go ahead and play the next one, Mike.
Okay.
This is Dale Matthews, editor of badcounty.com. Anti-levy proponents are sometimes wrong. It's important to be right. There's a rumor going around that none of the other home rule counties have an ISF that we've been told is an absolute requirement. Actually, there may be one other county. Let's get it right.
So,
what?
Yeah. Well, what I've
confusing.
heard is that there are 9 home rule counties in Oregon. Now, one of the things that I've asked Wally Hicks to look into, and he said he's going to, we'll see, is that of the 9 home rule counties, is it true that we're the only one that requires an internal services fund, that 10% fund that takes the money out of the hands of the sheriff and gives it to Simon Harris so he can go on trips to Washington, D.C., and they can put in new carpeting in the commissioner's offices and stuff like that, okay? They really depend on this money. They really do, and you can see the video of, I don't think they're very happy about the fact that we have the video, but you can see the video of them talking about how essential that ISF money is to them, and the biggest part of it comes from the Sheriff's Department. This is one of the reasons why the commissioners are death on the idea of eliminating the ISF as far as it applies to our most important project, they say, in the county, which is the Sheriff's Department keeping us safe, because if they don't get that 10% skimmed off the top, how are they going to go for their education classes in Oahu?
Right. Yes. However, I got a little issue with the front end of that commercial. It's like, who amongst the anti-levy people is walking around talking about the number of home rule counties that have or don't have an ISF? Who's
well,
doing that?
I didn't make this up by myself.
Yes.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you're making up stories.
I am no.
You're trying to paint us all with a one of those brushes.
Oh, what, you have a toothbrush? You guys could use that. You toothless horde. Horde. Okay.
Yes,
so
yes, I heard.
No. Look. It has been discussed by several people. What is the word about the ISF and the home rule counties? We are a home rule county. If it's true, and we don't know yet, so you can't say this. You can't use this material because we don't know what the answer is yet. Well, that happens occasionally.
Yeah, but you can accuse us all of lying about it.
I didn't say that we lied. I just said we don't want to say that until we know for sure. See, we're not like the other side. Cliff Thomason was in the weekend newspaper, that thing. What's that thing that says that it's a newspaper? Oh, the Daily Courier, the not-so-Daily Courier. Cliff Thomason is in there. Remember, Cliff Thomason was the guy that said, it's not really 10%, it's half of 1%. Cliff, I even said to him to his face, I said, Cliff, come on, Cliff, it's not half of 1%. Yes, it is. I said, Cliff, it was half of 1%. You guys would have brought this up years ago and helped pass your all-important levy by using that. So Cliff Thomason is saying that this event that comes up on Wednesday, hello, we're promoting your event on Wednesday. It's going to be at the Ann Basker at 6:30, and you can come, and everybody's invited, including Cliff Thomason, to come by and poke holes full of our arguments, saying we have voted several times. That's not true. You've never voted, and we've voted no, no, no. We always win. You, the anti-levy people, always lose, and that and that this is the winning team with an unbroken record. No, you're not. We're always the winner. You're always the, they can say whatever they want, but we're going to be there with the facts. And that would be nice to give people some of the facts. And Cliff is saying, oh, you can go and learn how to lie and cheat and steal. No, no, no. You come to this show and watch Mike. Okay, next one, Mike.
Oh, man.
This is Dale Matthews, editor of BadCounty.com. Anti-levy proponents are sometimes wrong. It's important to be right. Police do not always say that their perception of crime is more important than their own facts and figures. Go see our video where Chief Landis confesses that a decrease in arrests sometimes feels like an increase. Let's get it right.
So you can't say that the police always claim that perception is reality. You've seen the video. You saw it last night. You can see it at the top
but
of
lately they do.
Well, they sort of come and go on this, don't they?
You know what? I mean, listen. What's in this for the chief of police to come up with this story to help pass the levy? His department gets full funding, and we're already putting $1 million towards an extra 30 beds. For them to house people, and they're already seeing some pretty measured success with this. This tax that they're putting on local utilities. So why is it that we need the levy? Why is it that he's shilling for him? What's the deal?
Well, there's 2 points I think that need to be made. One is, in case you didn't see this or you don't want to go to badconduct.com, well, then don't. Just forget you. There is the video from January 20th of the big extravaganza. What was it that you call it that they had? It was Levy Palooza or something?
Yes,
where the police chief, for reasons that I don't understand, he starts telling the story of how when they got the jail beds available to them, that the Grants Pass City Police had the perception that they were running the wheels off their cars by going out and arresting all these people. And when they looked back at the figures, they found out, actually, the wheels are still there, and we didn't arrest that many people. It was a small fraction of what they thought that they thought they'd arrested many times more than they actually had. But they were, wait a minute, we did, didn't we? They didn't. And so what does that prove?
I can play it if you want.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and play that? Yes, go.
In the 6 months leading up to the jail contract of August 1st, 2013, where the city rented 30 jail beds, or up to 30 jail beds, to house offenders in the city of Grants Pass, we lodged about 1,566 people for crimes, which mean the more serious person-on-person crimes. And my officers issued about 510 or so citations for those things that we couldn't take people to jail for. So I went and looked at the data in the 6 months after we rented those jail beds to see what the outcome was. If you'd asked jail staff and our officers, they'd have said, man, we're running the cars off wheels, taking people to jail. But you know what happened? We actually took less people to jail. And we could arrest for anything that we did. 1,300 and so many people went to jail on offenses that committed a crime in the state of Grants Pass, and we only issued 100 citations. So we asked ourselves, well, what happened? 35 fugitives in the first 4 months were sent back to where they were wanted from. Because prior to that, we allowed people to come here who were wanted in other areas. And if they never got taken to jail, they couldn't be extradited back to those areas. They also learned that if they committed crimes here, they weren't going to go to jail, so there was actually no consequences. There's a 5 to 95% rule that if you take 5% of the people that are causing 95% of your crime or problems away or to jail or wherever, you're going to create a much safer environment, more so than just the 5% that you're arresting.
Okay, so like it or not, I like that guy. I think that he's a public-spirited guy, and I enjoy talking with him. Okay, and as far as I know, he hasn't purposely lied to me about anything, and neither is Dave Daniel to me. Okay, you may have another perception. I may be full of beans. You're probably right. I am. Okay, but the interesting thing, the most interesting thing to me about this is right now people are trying to sell us a levy by saying all of your facts and figures that are derived from local sources, from you guys, from the police, they're all wrong because we know we got our finger on the pulse of this community and crime is not going down. It's skyrocketing. It has to skyrocket or you don't pay for raising your own property taxes. So
Right.
it's
And it has to be skyrocketing because I feel like it is. And
yes,
he
and
just
that's
said,
the reason. That's
yes,
the reason because you feel, and here he's saying, when they got more jail beds, I think that this is a killer statement. Well, you know what I mean.
yes,
That I think in this case he is saying that when they got their more jail beds for $1 million in grants past taxpayer money, that their perception among the jail people and among his people, their perception was that they were arresting a lot more people than they were. And then when they look back at their own facts and figures, they found out that their perceptions, police perceptions, are wrong. Yes. He just admitted that. Boy, that went by fast. That was from January, and we're just now playing it for you. It went by us
yeah.
kind of
What's
fast,
wrong
too.
with us?
And well, I thought of a little bit at the time, but there were other things that were happening. I mean, Simon Hare
Well,
was.
yeah, but and also the idea that he is discussing perceptions doesn't
Yes.
really jump out at you until later when they start making the argument that perceptions are reality and that
Yes.
what we need to trust are our perceptions or our feelings on this. So then you go back and watch that again, which Dale just did here recently, and he goes, "Hey, wait a minute.
He's talking about perceptions.
Yeah, there's the
And now the
foundation of
perceptions
this
are
whole
all
thing."
wrong. Right.
Yeah.
That's right. It is like that Saturday Night Live skit where the woman comes in and her husband's in bed with another woman and they're getting dressed and she's getting out of there and the wife is accusing the guy, and once the young lady is gone, he says, "What? It's your perception. There was nothing that happened here." And so
Yes.
perception is reality they make up. Okay, but the point is that if the police are going to say, you can trust us, I want to trust them. Of course I do. They have our best interest in mind. I want that thin blue line between me and the people who have come here with the sole purpose of spreading hate. Really? That's their purpose
Yes.
now? I want that thin blue line to protect me, okay? I
Yes.
actually
Don't
don't
want to
need
be
it. None of my
sullied by
neighbors need it.
hatred.
Yes, yes, that's why they're here. They'll say anything. And if we're going to not go by facts and figures, we've even got somebody from the pro-levy side saying the police have not reported anything in 3 years. Really? Really? Now, some of their funding comes from the state. Some of it does. Some of their oversight comes from the state. Some of it does. You think that the state's going to say, you haven't filed anything in 3 years. Woohoo, we're okay with that. There's no way. There's no way. Come on, you pro-levy
Well,
guys.
not
You
well,
can't
not only
lie.
that, it hasn't been 3 years because
No.
we have the 2012 numbers.
Now,
So
are we
that-
going to get 13 and 14? That's a real good question. Bill brought this up. Sometimes,
well, the people that he has been talking to say
Right.
that we are going to get the numbers, and some people who are just people, but who are connected to the sheriff's department, say that you're not going to get any numbers. There are no numbers. Shut up about the numbers.
well, of course it's shut up about the numbers. Look, it came as a surprise to me also. I'm thinking, no, wait, crime is going down? Well, we know it's going down in the country, but isn't this the same rule? That every year they do surveys of people, they do polls of people. They say, what do you think about Congress? Oh, it's the world's worst institution. What do you think about congressmen? They're just the worst one. What do you think about your own congressman? Oh, that guy's probably okay. Really?
Yeah.
And everybody says that. Now, wait a minute. Something's wrong here about your perception. So in this case,
Yeah.
we've got police that are saying, well, yes, crime is going down all over the country. It's true. Crime
not
is
here.
going down. Whoa, but not here. Here, it's skyrocketing. Really? Why is it skyrocketing? I'll tell you why. I'll tell you
Because
why.
that's where the money is.
Don Reedy. No, Don Reedy isn't the reason why it's skyrocketing. So I go off to Cave Junction because Don Reedy and Simon Hare were going to meet with a U.S. senator, and I think it was Ron Wyden. And as it turns out, I didn't get a chance to videotape that, but there were people in the meeting who told me what happened. Thank you very much, you people in the meeting. I don't think Don Reedy knew this. And Don Reedy tried to read the Riot Act to a U.S. senator. There are many reasons why this ought to be done, but what he was doing was he was saying, stop telling us how you're doing your job in Washington, D.C. to try to get us more funding. Whatever you may think about that, I know contracts come first, funding, but in the meantime, stop telling us this good news. For heaven's sake, why? Because we're trying to pass a levy. And the
Well,
more
Dale,
good news you tell us.
well, Dale, apparently he didn't get the message because here's a little news report from yesterday.
Senator Ron Wyden worked before the Senate Budget Committee Thursday to attach an amendment to the budget that he says will help rural Oregon.
This creates a deficit-neutral reserve fund for federal lands, secure rural schools, payment in lieu of taxes, and the Land and Water Conservation Fund.
Wyden testified that those programs, as he put it, restore a crucial lifeline for roads, schools, and first responders in Oregon's cash-strapped rural communities. Wyden's amendment is a first step to renewing the expired Secure Rural Schools program, which provided more than $107 million to 32 Oregon counties last year.
And the levy people are going,
No! Stop telling us good news! This happens every year, every single year. I realize a lot of you are relatively new to paying attention to what's happening with county government, but every year this happens,
Yes.
and they're always saying like, well, and what's the reaction from the commissioners? Okay, from Don Reedy was, shut up, stop telling us this, okay? Fortunately, we
listen.
didn't have Don Reedy in there for long. Go ahead.
I was at an SOS meeting, and they were talking about this exact thing, and Keith Heck was there going, and he was trying to tell people, it's weird because you're trying to get a message across to the people in the room that sort of are on your team without alerting the other people in the room that aren't really on your team. And he's trying to go, shut up, don't talk about that. But I believe in this particular case, we were talking about getting an upfront payment for timber. That we were exploring the idea of timber sales, and the type of timber sale that we were after was one where you get paid up front. And he was like, no, don't talk about that, because he knew. Anytime you tell people money's imminent, they go, oh, well, why do we need this then? Why do we need this levy? And so that's the kind of panic they're having right now.
I was there when Simon Hare had floated. He was in the room, the little back room, with Keith Heck, and Simon was saying maybe it's about time to talk to the people about having a bond, a brand new bond, and we'll float this bond. Ooh. And Keith Heck is saying, no, this would not be a good. We should probably discuss that in executive session. You think?
Yeah, because you're saying that in front of Dale.
Yes, no. This is probably the inappropriate place. It's the inappropriate place? Really?
Yes.
It's inappropriate to do that. You're right, in front of the camera, because you guys are sitting right there next to me, and we're all paying attention to this, and we're like, really? They never talked about that again. Not in public.
Okay, we got one more spot here.
Okay.
All righty here.
Theoretically.
This is Dale Matthews, editor of badcounty.com. Anti-levy proponents are sometimes wrong. It's important to be right. Despite what Rotary Radio and a shrinking newspaper keep saying, you are on the winning side. In fact, you have an undefeated record for more than a decade. That's because you vote. Let's get it right.
Yeah, okay. Again here, I got to take you to task on
what?
Who amongst the anti-levy people? Who amongst the anti-levy people were saying that? You're making it up.
No, I am not making it up. I realize you're just joking around, but it's eating at our credibility here. The thing is, there are a number of people who are sometimes fairly despondent about this, and I say to them, now wait a minute, before you think you're on some kind of losing side, you've never, ever been on the losing side. In fact, Sandy Casanelli and I were on KJO back when it was okay to say something that's that Carl Wilson didn't like on KJO. And he said, so what do you think about this last vote? And we had won again. And I said, well, we won. You call that winning? And I said, well, we were victorious in the vote. That's not winning. That's losing. It's losing by any way you count it. Really, Carl? And now he's our state representative because why? Well, I'm sort of glad he's out of town, but what is he saying about us over there? Well, that's a bunch of losers and they always lose. No, this side that I consider to be common sense, I think that it is. I'd like to hope that it is, even if it's not common sense. It is the will of the majority of the people. I'm happy to be an American. I don't mind living in a community of lunkheads. Otherwise, I'd move. I associate with Mike. So it's true that we keep voting. We do need to vote to let people know what we think. We keep winning on this subject. We keep begging them to go find some other way, and somehow, mysteriously, they always think that we're the ones that are uninformed. We're not the learning impaired side.